Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Looking Deeper with Denise King Francisco, a.k.a. Dana, and the Reverend Sandra Herrick. Hey, Sandy.
Hey, Dana. How are you? And hi, everybody. Happy summer. Oh, my God. We're dead set in the middle.
We certainly are. Todd's out right now mowing the lawn, in case you hear anything going on. We are right in the heat of summer, and it's an exciting time, it's an exhilarating time, and a painful time, and all of that stuff that life brings, which is really what our show is about tonight.
Yes, it is. Life is life no matter what else is going on.
That is for certain. For those of you that are listening in right now live, the chat room is open via Spreaker. So please do come on in and join Sandy and I for conversation. And hello to everyone who is listening to us via podcast and YouTube. It's great to have you here tonight. Sandy, we always discuss what it is that we want to talk about before we get together every month to talk about it. And this month you chose this topic. Why is that?
Well, because facing life is really paying attention to the fact that you're living it and it's happening no matter what, all the time. And it's very important to start becoming aware of the here and now, not just the past or future, but what's happening to us now. Who are we in our lives right now? Are we paying attention to the power of the moment?
I like that. Being present.
Being present.
You're describing to me anyway, being present for all of it.
Exactly. And being present to me also means having the feelings for what the moment is. And really being honest about the fact that we have feelings. And coming out of the I wish it would be different to, well, what is it really that I'm really dealing with so I can shift it or own where I am and come out of the delusion of where you are so that you can really get a foundation of what you want to do with it. I'm eating a couple of nuts here because I didn't have dinner yet. And so I'm going to munch and talk at the same time.
That's perfect. Let's welcome Lady Hawk into the room.
Hey, Catherine, hi.
Good
Hello,
to have you
Texas.
with us. Yeah. Exactly. Hello, Texas. Good to have you in the house tonight. So, Sandy, being present for our life, sometimes you and I both know that there are times, sometimes we just want to numb from our lives or go away from our lives or do anything but live our lives. And for some people, I think we kind of dip in and out of that. Have you ever dipped in and out of those thoughts?
Yeah, it's called human behavior.
Yeah.
And, not everybody can stay present. Not everybody can disassociate. Not everybody wants to be where they are. And not everybody have their dreams come true. It's all just the fact. And why I'm really asking about this as our subject tonight is for anybody that's seen on Facebook. Life has got me in that moment where life is important to look at, not the way I want it, but the way it is. And the way it is that my husband, Bobby, has been given the diagnosis of a terminal cancer of leukemia. And bottom line is what they say is that it is terminal. And it is, I can't even say the name of it, it's so radical, but it's he is one of 4 people in a million that has this disease. It is so rare. And so the reason why this topic of where are we in our life is that before you're told that you're sick enough that your life is walking itself to its end, or your partner is sick enough that this is the end of something, not the I hope it could be different, I wish it would be different, and all those things are there. But this is about, if I'm not paying attention to the moment, I'm going to be missing out on all the moments that we have left together. if I'm not looking at who is he, where is he, how is he feeling, how am I feeling? Am I being honest? And I want to say this in that way, when we sat in the doctor's office in the hospital and she was telling us that this is what the diagnosis is, I realized here are two adults sitting down next to each other being heard the worst nose you can get. And neither one of us were touching at the moment. And I thought, well, do I wait for him or do I just reach out? Or is this one of those moments where? And I slowed down and realized I need to touch my husband so that we're connected. Mm. It wasn't about giving him comfort or him reaching out to soothe me. It was one of those moments where I could feel the disassociation kind of gathering on the right side of my mind, Dana, and everybody that's listening. I could feel, holy, good God, what the on earth. But to reach across just those couple of inches to Bobby's arm and touch him, what happened in that moment was that we were linking up, we were joining up. We were connecting in a place we had never connected or had to connect before. And that was in the reality of life and death. Not just what are my dreams and how are you treating me and why are you doing this and why aren't we doing that, or I wish it were better. This is like this is all we've got now. And if we are not really astute and connected, we're going to miss out on the most important phase of our life together. It doesn't exclude anything else from being important, but this is, all the games are over. All the, it's like the shadow drops. And I know people that have walked away from loved ones that were dying, or they didn't want to be a part of it. You know, there's all sorts of scenarios. That's what hospice is about. But this was that place of life just said what it's doing to us, and we will make choices about what we will do with it. And that's why I really asked about today and the topic of today. And yes, you and I have talked a lot about what's just happened in my life and Bobby's life. So it's powerful to know that we're always walking toward the end of our life. We just don't know it. As soon as we're born, we're walking toward the end of our life. And how do we pay attention to our life as we're living it?
Beautifully said. And I'm curious about something when you describe that moment of reaching out and connecting with Bobby. What did that feel like for you? Because as you described it, it's the first time that you've ever connected or had to connect in that way or for that reason.
You're right. I mean, we've connected in so many different ways. Our connection has been compromised or challenged. There's times where it's like, I don't want to be connected, or I want to be connected more, which is the human factor in all of our relationships. But this one, the connection was pulling us together to know that no matter what is going to happen, our love is in it with the integrity, the truth, and the honesty of how we love each other, without anything taking that love from us. Addictions or patterns or situations that it amplifies the ability to communicate and tell the truth so that the love doesn't get dismissed or lost or manipulated. So many times people use love to manipulate another person because they know somebody loves them, or they know that somebody wants love. And I mean, this is a dangerous subject. Do you not think so?
Oh, absolutely. And while we're, I just want to let you know that Linda Claflin Phelps is tuned in. She just texted me to let you know she's tuned in.
Hi, Linda. We got a puppy here. Wait until you see her. And I want to thank also Linda because, when she heard that Bobby was terminal, she thought of it and reached out and whatnot, but then said, let's have the women's group hold him, put a circle around him. So even she wanted to touch and reach across the divide and connect in that way. And I thank you, Linda, because we did. The women's group did that, where you lock arms, you connect, you lock the lock so that nothing can break the bond. Nothing can break the bond that we are going through this, come hell or high water, no matter what. And the love is making the agreement. I know we make it in vows when we get married. I know we can say to somebody, I love you. But when the chips are down, when we're really faced with a darkness or with an option for change or we're inconvenienced, I mean, everybody knows what I'm saying, where it's like, oh my God, I'm bored or I don't, all that stuff went to the side. And what I reached out to and felt was my promise to him and myself. This is going through it all. And I thank you for the space to talk about this because I want to be very honest to everybody. Thank you through Facebook who has commented and reacted and said things and sent information. And in that lockdown, in that touch, Dana, there was also that place of I'm on a fierce platform that, I'll be blunt, you don't fuck with this. You don't do anything that is going to compromise this in a way that you listen to people, you invite people in, and there are other people that they don't get to hear the inner sanctum of that. It's an energy that is really subtle and very loud. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely, I do, yes.
Because it's more sacred than sacred. Mm-hmm. It's where sacred really is so clean that you find out, I'm finding out who I am mm-hmm. in a way I didn't have to.
And what are you finding, Sandy?
Let me say it this way. As a counselor, and we all do this just in our humanness, when someone says someone that they know is dying or I'm dying, there's that tuck-in place in all of us like, oh my God, but I'm grateful it's not happening to me. Or thank God. Mm-hmm. There's a distance between the space between someone that is passing away or in a dangerous place that has a little bit of a divide. This is that do-si-do when I crossed a part of a bond with Bobby that protects us from unconscious behavior from people on the outside that care and want to care, but are unconscious and not quite clear on what to say because it's so lethal and it's foreign. Mm-hmm. And we don't always know what to do. It's no judgment. There's no judgment. No one has done anything wrong. If you reached out to us, please know that. But there's that place where what I'm finding about me is in my lethalness. When people say, what one person literally said to me, oh, he's choosing to die. If you want to know what fangs and claws look like from somebody, mm-hmm. in a flash, it was. And, I'm sorry, I used the wrong. You can't back up from saying something like that. You have to know you said it.
Exactly.
And if you don't know you said it, you will know you said it. Mm-hmm. Because Bobby's not choosing to die. I'm not choosing to be with Bobby because he's dying. Our love is alive. And we're already now in the discussion on how does that love continue? How do we know that beyond that love is not a daydream or a hope? And sacred is something that is highly protected, guarded and people can be invited into, but they can't barge into.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm learning about myself is that I'm more alert to chaos and wanting the chaos to not take us off of our center. I'm also alert to gentleness and knowing that it's time for all of us to be gentle and not just be an idea of being nice. Do you know what I'm saying when I say that, Dana?
I do.
Have an idea of being nice. What do you experience when I say that?
Well, this morning I did my show Exploring Sacred on being present with grief, being present for grief.
Right.
And there's a difference between being fully present for grief or being fully present for a moment in life and wanting to look like you're being present for grief or in a moment in life. There's a difference from wanting to appear or being that. And when we find ourselves on the other side of that, being the recipient or somebody needing somebody to just be, we can tell who's wanting to look as though they are and those that are. And sometimes the most beneficial is the quiet love. It's the most sincere love that we can feel, and that's most nourishing, rather than the loud, the obnoxious, or the showy. I do understand what you're saying, because we can feel the authenticity, I think, is what you're talking about.
Right. And you know, we're talking about shadow and light here on a level that is so visceral, because when someone pretends to grieve out of the unconscious ability or inability to know how to grieve, I think it's sad to know that we live in a society that does not know how to grieve.
Yes.
Or appreciate grief.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my puppy!
Gabriel's giving you some love, Sandy.
Oh, my God. And he's like, preach, preach.
Yeah, exactly.
And we can feel it energetically. We can feel it energetically when crocodile tears showed up, or when someone does something perfunctory because they want to be a good person and they do it. And it's like, you know, this is one of these boundaries that I'm really putting out there. Some people literally came to me and said, we want to help you, tell us what to do, da-da-da, da-da-da. And, Linda knows. And I said, this is not about me being able to tell you what to do, because I don't know what I want you to do yet. There's nothing to do. We're not into the throes of something, and I will ask. But what I'm very clear on, if you want to do something, just come do it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't wait for me to ask. If somebody wants to come and do something, you know, let me know what you would like to do and do it, versus wait for me to tell you what to do or need you. Because there's that place of some people will go, oh my God, you didn't ask me. Why don't you ask for help? It's not that I'm stubborn. It's that I'm private.
Mm-hmm.
And I will ask for help when I really, really need it, but I don't ask for help just to have people feel. And this is the way I said it. I don't want to have to be responsible to people who want me to call them and say I need help. That I make them feel good because I've asked them to help me. I do what you would like to do rather than set me up to make you feel good for asking you to do something. If I ask, it's because I really need it. Mm-hmm. But if you want me to ask you, be careful. Because that means you want to do something, but you're putting the responsibility of it on me or the people that you want to help that may not know what they need yet, or they don't even know they need it.
Mm-hmm.
so there's this ability of staying in the moment of your life of, I won't ask for something I won't need. But that doesn't mean that what you want to do isn't something that can't be done. I may not need it, but it would be nice if it were done. Mm-hmm. And I could go, oh my God, thank you. I didn't even, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that's the act of human kindness.
Right.
That's the act of, I know what I would like to do rather than I hope I'm needed.
Right. And that's also acknowledging that there are a lot of people, who may be listening or in your life or in anyone's life that don't know how to reach out and say, how can I help you? And so for those people that are profoundly also private and shy and don't know how to approach anyone in their life, I'm not just talking about you, but they don't know how to say, how can I help you? Maybe they've never been faced with anything like a crisis in their life before, and it's brand new territory. What do you say to the person that's suddenly faced with having a friend in trauma or a loved one in trauma, and they don't know how to broach the subject or step forward because it's far out of their comfort zone, because perhaps they're young, or maybe life has not yet provided the first circumstance to know how to appropriately reach out?
Well, that could be a person of many ages.
Exactly.
It's not just young. It's just inexperienced or shut down enough where you don't even have the experience of being present in your feelings.
Yes.
So you want to be a good person. You want to act kind. You want to provide the image of your generosity. Mm-hmm. I have said that in very qualifiable phrases. Mm-hmm. None of which was, this is who I am, and I'm going to show up.
Right.
It's out of an image rather than out of a being. If you have an image of a character that you feel you would like to present because it looks good or that would get you, some points for looking good, you have to know that that image does not necessarily deliver a certain weight. And I mean by the heaviness, the comfort of you're going in without any expectation to have yourself be acknowledged for what you've done or be seen and having to be validated at some level that you feel I need to have, and you don't even know you need to have that until you realize you didn't get it, and then you have feelings, hurt feelings, or you have a sense that you weren't appreciated for your kindness. At this level of interaction, it has to be so selfless. Mm-hmm. Alexander's got lots to say. It has to be without the need to have need to be seen. It has to come from the place of service where your generosity or your kindness or your character knows that you are offering something to a place that is so new. This is new for Bobby and I. I have never lost a person I deeply love to death. I have lost people I have deeply loved to them leaving me or divorcing me or we've run out of time together. But this is the first time death has come to take my love. My sister-in-law, death has been at her door for her husband, my brother Tony, and then the person she fell in love with after Tony. I was able to be there for Susie, but I did not have any idea what it was like to feel death take your love. not a circumstance of I'm done, they found somebody else. Da, da, da. I mean, they were still on the planet, so I could still hate them if I wanted to or try to get them back. This is death. And when death knocks at your door, there's something finite about it that we don't know how to always deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is new for me. It's a very new personal experience. My father's died, my mother's died, a brother's died. But it hasn't been my companion. People I have dated died, but they were not in my life when that happened. This is my husband. This is the man that I fight with and fight for and thrive with. We're together for 20 years, which is short term for some. It's the term we have. We're married since 2007. We've lived together since 2003. So this is a person who I've been with longer than my family of origin.
Wow.
On a daily basis. And there's an intimacy here that just became, there's so many beautiful words I could use to describe it spiritually, but the only word I'm going to use is real.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's real when all of a sudden you realize time is not forever.
Mm-hmm.
It shocks us into another dimension.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when it's ours. It's ours.
Mm-hmm.
This is my space. This is my home. This is my solitude. This is my solace. This is my love. And will I live beyond this? Of course. Could I get killed before Bobby? You bet. But being in the life that we have, for me, means don't risk not paying attention. It's the challenge of I will really be in that space of I'm going to be entertained on some level with finding out who I am at this depth that I've watched Susie go through in awe. But I can feel my integrity coming up and talking to my mind and telling my mind to shut up. I can feel my heart coming up to my pettiness and telling my pettiness to move over. I can feel my soul honor the profoundness of meeting Bobby and being graced by a surprise. I can also feel my tears that have been so cautious in bringing themselves and releasing themselves that I've said, I haven't cried. I well up. But I wonder where my tears will speak. Because they're not crying for me. They're available for something that I don't even know where they're going to express themselves. And I know you know that space, Dana.
Mm-hmm. I do.
How have you experienced it?
Well, before we go there, I wanted to ask something. Wanted to talk about something. Because I get asked this question often, or a statement is made, and Sandy, you and I are enough different and enough alike that we have some of the same experiences with questions and statements. And one of the statements and questions that I often hear is, how can you always be so strong? Why is it that you have the capability? There you go, Alexander. Yeah, but it doesn't affect you like it affects everybody else, Dana. You're just strong. And why is the perception of it doesn't affect me like everyone else, I'm just strong? Is it because I'm not somebody who bubbles over with tears at the drop of the hat? What is that? And what is the perception? And why is it, honestly, Sandy, that some people really are stronger than others?
Well, I think the word strong is a good word, but I don't think the word strong is what we're actually talking about.
Let's talk about that for a minute.
Because I have told everybody I'm not, Bobby broke his neck. I didn't cry. Bobby has AFib. I didn't cry. Bobby's been told he's going to die. I haven't cried. I well up, or tears come, and it's not that I'm strong. It's that something hasn't touched me to the point where I'm feeling sad about myself or even Bobby yet. It's that there's this place where I'm not pulled out of something, but because even Bobby has said, well, you cry, and he said that as an accusation. I said, I'm not a crier, Bobby. I well up, and I cry because I moved, not because I'm taken from, not because I feel I've lost something. I cry because I'm moved by something. And if I'm not moved, I can't pretend to cry. And there are places where, interestingly enough, someone may be calling it strong, but it's a place where it's like there's no room for tears here. Because the tears, and belching, come when they come in an honest form that lets me know there's something deeper inside me that needs to stand with me and the it-ism of where I am. Because when I can cry in a movie. I can cry because someone's in pain. I can cry because I'm overwhelmed. Tears catch me rather than find me. Do you understand that statement?
I do.
I'm surprised when I find myself crying. And not surprised with, holy God, I'm crying. It's like, oh my God, I'm crying. And there's that place of when my tears cry honestly, deeply, from that depth of the grief that finally wells up. I will say this as a Scorpio and a mean motherfucker. I have seen people cry that I am bored with watching their tears. I've seen people cry where it's like, I'll give you until 10, and I'm counting to 10 fast before you just get over it, Tears will not seduce me to feel sorry for you. And I can see something and cry, or see someone cry, and all I can do is get on my knees and be with them, because the validity of where they're crying from is so pure that it's not from a thought, it's not from a place of it's not from personal need, it's from personal relief and release. Tears do have personal needs sometime, where people have learned to use them or express them in order to gather sympathy or harvest some kind of attention. I mean, tears can be a learned behavior, unfortunately.
That is true.
And and so there's that place where people well up, and it's like, all right, sure, great, next. And then there are people that are crying, and I will crawl across the floor to hold them. Mm-hmm. And emotion is a really radical place of honesty or dishonesty. I mean, I think that's where the show itself, what are the dishonest emotions that people portray just to seduce or to pretend or to solicit attention?
Oh, that's a whole series of shows right there, Sandy.
Damn, bitch.
That's a whole series of shows right there. Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Alexander's so happy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so, there is that tenderness of compassion. And my strength and your strength in that scorpionic place is we do understand as Scorpios the extreme depth of life and death.
Yes.
It's innate in us.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something I'm learned about. It's something I'm learned to about me. And what that means is I'm surprised by my behavior at times. Because it's like I didn't cry in the doctor's office, but I reached out to Bobby. Bobby and I have looked into each other's eyes and cried. Not boo-hoo, but welled up and truly experienced our connection. There were a couple of times where we convulsed with our tears for a few moments. And it was because our love was so unfiltered by any of our stuff. There was no history in it from any distraction other than our own love, feeling each other and gasping. We are a complicated society that has such a brilliance about so many things, and we are dumb when it comes to emotion. It's a really interesting thing that I'll give you something to cry about, or crocodile tears, or look strong, don't let anybody see your tears, or for God's sake, somebody's crying, I've got to run to her, or somebody's not crying, I want to make them cry. I know the word authentic has been used, but I want to go deeper than even that, in that beauty of when my body expresses something beyond my mind's idea of it, that teaches me something about me that is so viscerally real that I pay attention, but I don't exploit my feelings. That is what is seen as strong inside you, Dana. Mm-hmm. That is what's seen as strong inside me. We don't exploit our emotions. In our privacy, we'll have emotions, but not everybody gets to experience them. They're not up for sale. They're not up for review. They're not up for the public at large. They're very private. They're very honest. And if I cry in public, it's because it's honest. Right. If I don't cry in public, it's because it's honest. I'm not controlling it. I'm actually, like I said, I'm surprised at times why I'm not crying. It's like, where are your tears, Sandy? Why aren't I crying? Because it's not there to cry. And this is, I think, the learning curve. If I'm not crying where I think I should be crying, then what on earth am I feeling that I need to go figure out what I'm feeling? Let me come in and be real in the moment of my life, and that's what tonight's about. What am I really feeling? If I'm not going to be distracted by tears or use tears or have tears as the expression, where do I need to go to find out what I'm feeling? Which actually may be more astute than the obvious of I should be crying. And that's even, good on you for if someone goes, well, why aren't you crying? Well, because there's something else going on that you're paying attention to, that if you were crying, you wouldn't be with. You would be distracted from. Mm-hmm. So we're talking about a sophistication. We're talking about an elevation. We're not talking about elimination. Mm-hmm. And yes, people do disassociate so they don't cry. And people don't cry sometimes because they say point blank, if I start, I won't stop. Mm-hmm. But that's a control issue. That's not being real. That's controlling. That's denying yourself reality. Mm-hmm. You talk for a while. I've been saying a lot.
Well, I've wanted to listen because I've wanted to listen to what it is that you want and feel that you would like to share, because you're facing this. It's life, and how do we face it? How do we face what life brings? And for me, I did grow up in a household where I was punished. You were punished for crying. And the punishment was very severe, which never made sense to me as a kid. But, beyond that, I think even in who I am, to your point that sometimes the point has not yet been reached where the tears are pierced. And they become available, because tears are very healing. And for me, there has to come a point. And I remember the first time, I'm married to Todd, and he saw me crying. I mean, really crying. And it scared him. It scared him. And he openly admitted that it scared him because typically I'm very together.
Right.
And not stoic. I'm not a stoic person, but I am together, I guess, is the way that you would put it. Or have not reached that point.
No. But that's the way Todd would put it.
Yeah.
I want to defend your honor here, because together doesn't mean you don't express emotion. It's the first time that something happened to you that this emotion came out that Todd was not experiencing with you.
Right. And it frightened him.
Exactly.
And, it didn't stop me from expressing
I remember the event. Believe me, I remember.
It was frightening for him to experience.
For somebody who is not aware of what emotions do.
Exactly. And I'm not somebody that... it has to touch a place. How do I face things? Sometimes I face things, and the beauty of life will touch me to a place that even the pain of life can't bring a tear.
Right.
But the beauty of life. And even as we're living it, there are moments that are so exquisite. And those exquisite moments are different for everybody. What's exquisite to me isn't necessarily going to be exquisite for you, or et cetera, et cetera. So anybody that's out there trying to compare notes with me and Sandy, it's all very individual.
Yes.
And the tears well up, or the anger wells up. I'm very slow to anger, but when I do, hell hath no fury, as the Sarge used to say.
Right.
And being safe to express those things when life challenges us or life is present, to be with the laughter, to be with the joy. Some people won't laugh in public.
Right.
Some people won't express joy and passion in public for many, many reasons. So when life brings what it brings, being able to express, as you said, honestly and authentically, deeply authentically, the emotions or the thoughts that come to the surface is not only healthy, it's healing, but it's part of life. It's part of the vibration of life. And the other part of it, to be honest, for me, I'm not going to share those moments with people that I don't feel consider those moments sacred. I will openly express with those that I feel are in sacred space with me, or maybe I should say sacred relationship with me.
I have this incredible awareness as you are speaking, and this isn't the honor of the Todd experience of being scared. There is a quality, and you and I share this quality, that when my or your emotions come and they are so vibrant that they wail. Mm-hmm. What the external person does not understand and will fear is that they think that they're supposed to somehow take care of you, and they have no capacity to do it at that moment.
Right. Beautifully said.
And in that moment, in all due respect, you and I are not asking them to care for us. We're literally expressing something at such a spectacular level that if we don't go through it, we're not taking care of ourselves. Mm-hmm. And it goes right back into the circle of when I reached out to Bobby. When I go into that wail of overwhelm or whatever it is that is in that crying, I have actually done things in therapy with therapists that said, I don't know what to do with you, Sandy. And I've looked at them and I said, don't worry. I do. I know when I wail at that level of sorrow that I will get through it. I'm not asking someone to come and rescue me. And that's the difference, Dana. Mm-hmm. You've cried and I have heard you, and you didn't say, come save me. It was be in this space so I can go through this. Just hold it so I can go through it. Mm-hmm. Don't interfere. Don't ask questions. Don't talk. Don't do nothing. Just, I'll get to the other side. Let me crawl.
Right. Out of the bathroom that I called you from.
Exactly. And out of the inipi that the flap got opened and I walked by.
Yes.
And there's that place, and I think this is important for everybody to really be able to hear, so that if someone's going through chaos of their emotion, you don't have to rescue them from that emotion. You just hold the space so that that emotion is not judged by you, so that the emotion can be processed. I don't want anybody, I didn't stop you from crying. I didn't intervene. I held you and walked through the tears so that whatever the tears are, you can hear what happens. And eventually they'll fade into the whimper. Bobby has done that with me the night my brother died. All of a sudden the tears came. And it was not the tears that my brother died. It was the tears that I didn't know where my brother was. For the first time in my life, I didn't know where my brother, I have the hiccups, where my brother was. It's amazing how we know where our family is, even though we don't know. Mm-hmm.
True.
And Bobby directed me to the bed, got me into the bed. And I'll never forget it. I was crawling from the bottom of my bed onto my bed and up to my bed. And all of a sudden, with Bobby's hand on my back as I am wailing, I saw that my brother Tony was with my father. I went, oh, Daddy has him. And a calm came over me. And I was able to get to the top of the bed, under the covers, on the pillows, and Bobby didn't intervene. He escorted. When someone goes into that depth, I ask everybody to realize that if you can support somebody to be where they are, rather than think you have to rescue them from where they are. And that goes to that place where anybody and everybody that says, call me if you need me. I don't want you to rescue me from this place. I want you to support me. 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 I want you to support hold a space till I go through it.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm wailing and you're scared, own your fear. Don't stop me because you're scared. Dana, you and I have the capacity to travel through emotions that not everybody else does, and we have compassion for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to kind of look at our astrology, we have to look at our presence, we have to look at all, I have to think of so many facets. But you and I are not strong because we're strong. Oof. We're different because we're capable of traversing spectrums of depth and height that are comfortable to us, even during our discomfort with them.
Mm-hmm. That's a good way to put it, San.
I think that's a bona fide quote.
I think it is. Mm-hmm.
And so therefore the compassion for the person or people watching us go through this, we have to have the compassion for them. Because I know it. It's like I pop up out of my whatever and look at them and go, don't worry about it, I got this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My very first soul retrieval that I went through when I was 28 years old was under the guises of the number one psychodrama teacher in the world. And she kind of stopped me and said, Sandy, I don't know where you are. And I looked up from my disassociation from her eyes, from the wealth of association in my eyes, of knowing I finally found a soul and a reclaiming of myself from someone, rather than a incredible desire to just keep giving myself to someone to the point I would empty myself. That I could look up at this individual and say, I know where I am. Don't worry about it. Her shame of not knowing of where I was tried to shame me to stop going where I was going, with a space that I needed to get to claim more of who I am. I've really got the hiccups.
You really have the hiccups tonight.
Is that powerful? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Is it meaningful? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Is it qualifiable? You bet your ass it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because it brings us into the moment of where we are rather than where people want us to be. Mm-hmm. Or fear they can't identify, therefore they don't want us to go there. So it says we are different. Mm-hmm. We are capable on different levels to be at different levels. And part of the hardship of individuals like yourself and myself is that not everybody is able to understand the depths that we go to on a normal basis. And then when we really go to the depths that's not normal to even ourselves, we do scare people. Mm-hmm. And I want to honor that which creates fear for others.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that what you just said is so valuable to everybody that's listening, because I think it applies to everyone that, when we're going through or when we're facing what it is that life has brought to our doorstep, acknowledging that not everybody is going to be able to be there with us. And that doesn't make it right or wrong, but just to understand that there are a lot of circumstances around those that love us or that seek to help us. It isn't always something that they're capable of doing, and they may foible, they may seem awkward, but recognizing that, but also having the grace for yourself to understand that sometimes when we're facing things in life, rather than to, as Sandy said, help somebody juggle their awkwardness or their foibles, we need to withdraw.
Exactly.
And sometimes we need to set perhaps a broader boundary. But withdrawing when life brings trauma or drama, that's allowable, because I remember saying to a
and
dear...
don't feel judged.
No. I remember saying to a dear woman, she's a client of mine whose son died on Mother's Day. And she said to me, I finally came to the place, Denise, where I no longer accepted any more casseroles, no more baked goods, no more well-wishers just showing up at my door. For my own sanity, I became a recluse and a hermit so that I could be alone with the feelings of losing my son. And there were those who were offended, there were those who were angry, there were those who couldn't understand, and then there were those that had the aha moment that, oh my goodness, she just needs to be alone. She needs to be with what she needs to be with.
It needs to be private.
Yeah.
And that's exactly that line of what I was talking about. Are you here for me to validate you? Or are you here to just give a gift? I can say thank you and close the door.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And
Don't
say thank you and close the door.
Take care of you while you're saying you would like to take care of me.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Beautifully said.
This is such a tender space we're treading upon, because the goodness of care is being challenged and valued and interacted with. So I don't want anybody's feelings to feel like we are dismissing them or being critical or judging them, because our goodness is our goodness. Mm-hmm. All of our goodnesses are our goodness. Mm-hmm. Our fears are our fears. Mm-hmm. And we never really know what somebody's going through unless you've gone through it yourself.
Right. You know, last week when I was sitting with dear friends whose son had passed, there was a young woman who said to me, Denise, I don't know what to do. I'm here because I want to be here. I want to be present. But I don't know what to do. I've never experienced this before. What do I do? And I said, you know, sometimes it's not in the doing. It's simply in the being.
Exactly.
The fact that you came here because you felt you wanted to be present here and present for whatever it is that needs you to be present. Be present with that and just be here. You don't need to say a thing.
Right.
And she looked at me and I said, it's just that easy and it's just that hard all at the same time, because we cannot fix it.
Right. We are so stymied by our emotions. I am sorry in my soul that I say that at such a level that talks about the disassociation we are as a society from our emotions as to really what we feel, rather than what we've been seduced to be. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when we're called to be present, well, all the time when we're called to be present, as Kathy in the chat room is saying, we have to be aware of where others are in their grief. And the person grieving should never have to worry about what others think. So being aware. And sometimes silence really is the best medicine, just being still and being present and not taking things personally. When my father passed away, it was a very fascinating interaction with my family of origin. And that's kind of a normalcy, meaning that a mother dies, a father dies, isn't it nice that everybody kind of falls into place? And I want to say this from that place of my awareness of what is expected of us versus how we're allowed to be who we are. When my father passed away, I literally slept in a chair next to his bed in the hospital for 3 days. Lived in that room for 3 days, ate in the cafeteria for 3 days, stayed in the same clothes for 3 days, had my period, but bizarrely, it just didn't have the same aroma to it. It was just something happened. In those 3 days, there was the awareness of something inside me didn't know I signed up to be with my father while he was going to die. I discovered it. I didn't know it. I discovered it. Mm-hmm. And in discovering it, everything was taken care of as I was eliminating the life I thought was going to be the rest of my life, external to that hospital room. Mm-hmm. My family kind of hovered around my father and I, but I was in the vortex of my father and I. And it was one of those moments where I realized I promised to my father way before I was born that I would be with him when he would die. Mm-hmm. That's something you find out. If you know it, God bless. Mm-hmm. But I found out. Mm-hmm. In that, everything in my life ended. Mm-hmm. Everything. Mm-hmm. I did not leave my father's side. And because everything was ending, which meant nothing was going to be the same. Mm-hmm. The strength was knowing that it didn't matter. Mm-hmm. I wasn't going to leave my father's side. And that character that people see in you and myself is that there's a loyalty at some level to a human being that will risk the violence of everybody's ego. Mm-hmm. Even our own.
Yes.
And that's the most important thing that I've just said. Even my own, yes. Your own.
Yes.
That I will not leave this place no matter what happens to me. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. God bless Alexander. Mm-hmm. Because this is the only place my soul needs to be.
Yes.
And everything else is hearsay. Mm-hmm. Everything else is karma. Everything else, when I'm done with this, I'll come out and I'll face. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean I'm going to like it. Doesn't mean I'm going to win. Doesn't mean I'm going to have. It doesn't mean anything. It means I'm not leaving here.
Right.
And I will face the consequences. Mm-hmm. And the consequences of not leaving that space mm-hmm. was the annihilation of my life, the annihilation of my ego, the annihilation of myself, and the idea of what I could be mm-hmm. or what I had. Mm-hmm. And that was in 90, November of 90.
Wow.
And here we are, way on the other side of that, mm-hmm. sitting in my home, talking to the phenomena of knowing you, talking to the phenomena of finally meeting one of the greatest loves of my life. And I mean that with all the integrity of my soul. One of the greatest loves of my life is Bobby Hall. He's one of, I will not cheat here. He's significant. The magnitude is phenomenal. He's one of. And I will ride this with the same awareness that life is filled with the surprise of looking you in the face with asking the poignant question, who the fuck are you? Not why are you? What is your purpose? Who are you?
Mm-hmm.
We have somehow gone into some direction of, what is my purpose? What is my purpose? What is my purpose? No, the universe is looking at us and saying, who are you? Who are you? Who are you in this moment? Who are you in your idea of yourself? Who are you in being with the people that you're being with? Who are you?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what I know about you, what I know about me, is that we have always been about what is our purpose, but we have always been confronted by that greater spirit that says, who are you?
Mm-hmm.
Right now.
Mm-hmm. Some of go ahead.
I was going to say, it's not about, well, I want to be who you think I am.
Mm-hmm.
I have to know who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a person that will not leave her father. I'm a person who will not leave the hospital. I'm a person that will say, I am finding out who I am,
mm-hmm.
rather than assuming who I am and expecting you to tell me who I am.
Mm-hmm.
If I have ever said anything to anybody, that is the answer to it all. Who are you? Not what is expected of you. Who are you in the grit of discovering yourself?
Mm-hmm.
And that I say in love.
Beautifully said.
Thank you, Dana.
Mm-hmm. And with that, everybody, we are at the top of the hour. So, Sandy, as we wrap it up, what's your final word for this evening? What would you like to leave everybody with?
Life is an astounding opportunity. So take the opportunity to be with the astounding experience of being alive. And I love you all.
Beautifully said. With that, everybody, have a beautiful evening. And thank you for showing up for life.
Yeah.
And all that it brings. Blessings be, everybody.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you,
everybody.
Sandy.